Hello everybody and welcome to the United Stand. Good morning, I am Sam. Now some of you may have seen me before on build-up shows or the call-in, but if you haven't then I am Sam. Last time I was on the channel was on the build-up show pre-Burnley and I was in Miami, but I'm not in Miami anymore. I am back and I just want to kick off with a little bit of United Stand breaking news. Beth, our Bruno Fernandez of the United Stand, she was meant to be doing this morning's 10 a.m, but unfortunately, she's been ruled out due to illness at the last minute. She couldn't complete training this morning, so I am here to bring you the latest news. Instead, everyone here is sending Beth our best wishes. Beth, if you're watching, then hello. I hope you get better soon. And let's see if she'll make it back for Monday. Sources remain hopeful she'll be able to do Monday. But yeah, remains to be seen. Goldbridge will be back this afternoon. He's just doing a few things this morning and then he will be back for you. But let's kick the show off straight away. The Manchester United breaking news is now breaking 10 minutes ago from the German media. Christian Falk from Bild, a really reliable Bayern Munich source, has tweeted that Erik ten Hag is being discussed to take the managerial role at Bayern Munich. Now, for me, this is a bit of an odd story. The whole Bayern Munich thing is just really odd. Yesterday, they had another manager turn them down, Thomas Tuchel, who's also been linked with the Manchester United job, and we will touch on that. And I have a little bit of exclusive stuff on that from people that know Tuchel and have spoken to / had players that have played under Tuchel, and I've spoken to some people that, you know, their clients are basically Tuchel's players. So let me tell you a bit about that later on. But the main story is that Ten Hag is being discussed at Bayern Munich. Now, let's straight away tell me in the chat, do you think if Ten Hag leaves Manchester United that the Bayern Munich move for him would be a good move? Personally, I think I didn't really see where else could Erik ten Hag be going than Bayern Munich. He could go back to Ajax, but it's my understanding that Ajax are trying and have been trying for 2 weeks to complete a deal for Graham Potter, who was also linked with the Manchester United job, but for me, stay as far away from Potter as possible. I heard some stories on his time at Chelsea, and for me, no way, go nowhere near Potter at all. So Ajax are trying to wrap up that deal. There's also been stories linking Ten Hag with Ajax that return, but apparently from my sources, there is some truth in it, but it's looking extremely unlikely. They are trying to wrap up a deal for Potter. So he is now being discussed for the Bayern Munich job. Now, if you are Ten Hag, leaving Manchester United, being sacked or him walking is also another possibility. We can't forget that, although that doesn't look likely. If Ineos decide to sack Erik ten Hag at the end of this current season, would he take some time out or would he just want to keep that momentum? Ten Hag is being described from sources at Carrington. They tell me Ten Hag is a fighter. Ten Hag wants to fight. Ten Hag loves a fight. Ten Hag loves to keep momentum high, and that is what they are saying. So would Ten Hag take a break or would Ten Hag go straight into another job? I personally think that he would walk straight into that Bayern Munich job if offered it. Now, the main story that's coming out, this was the tweet from Christian Falk, and you can see it on the United Stand's Twitter page. Erik ten Hag is being discussed at FC Bayern Munich. Now, then he goes on to talk about the current manager at FC Bayern Munich, which is Thomas Tuchel. Tuchel linked with the Manchester United job. Now, let me tell you a little bit about that, and then later on in the show I'll do a little bit more of a segment on Tuchel, but we want to get into these Erik ten Hag quotes and a story from the press about Bruno Fernandez potentially moving to Barcelona. Lots to get into today. I am very excited. So Christian Falk, he has said Erik ten Hag is being discussed at Bayern Munich. Thomas Tuchel is still interested in the job at Manchester United, but Tuchel does not want contact with United before Bayern's match against Real Madrid. So, that is the news. I mean, to be honest, as I said, I think that Ten Hag will just walk straight into that job. If you're Ten Hag and you have that meeting with Ineos and you say to them, okay, like Ineos say to Ten Hag, they say, okay, well, that's that. Thank you for your efforts, but we want to move on, similar to what Todd Boehly did with Thomas Tuchel when he took over at Chelsea. If that is what happens, then I think that Ten Hag will say, yep, cool, I understand, and I think he would literally just walk straight into that job. Now, I think that Tuchel doesn't want contact with Manchester United before the match against Real Madrid. That shows that Tuchel's got good mentality. It shows that he doesn't want to be thinking about his future. He doesn't want to be thinking about anything else except the current club that he's on. And for me, I really like that. I think that shows good mentality, and I think that Tuchel could potentially be the right manager for Manchester United after Ten Hag. He's a winner. He won the Champions League with Chelsea. Obviously, we have a Champions League winner in our squad that came from Chelsea with Mason Mount. But yeah, that's what I think on that. Let's see what's going on in the chat. Let's read some super chats. Jake Marshall says, just want to say, if anyone wants a good video on Ineos footballing credentials, watch Zealand's video from last night. Very informative. Thank you for your super chat. And Tom Edwards says, they can have him, talking about Ten Hag moving to Bayern Munich potentially. Hope Beth feels better soon. So do I. So does everyone at the United Stand. Now, let me read you some of these chats. Beth is going to be injury prone like Martial now. No, she's not. She's taken, let's say, how do we say? She just failed a late fitness test. That's all. She'll be back for the next game. Beth will be okay. Seb is doing a good job and he has grown so fast. I always get those comments. You guys like to call me Seb. Wolf Wall says Tuchel has to leave Bayern at the end of the season. Yes, that is true. The decision has been made that Tuchel will leave, which means that Tuchel is available. And for me, it all just links up. Ajax want Potter. We're interested in Tuchel. Bayern want Ten Hag. Come on. Let's just put the pieces together. Let's just put the pieces together. Am I Mark's son? No, I'm not. Am I Ricky's son? No, I'm not. Let's move on to what Erik Ten Hag told Gary Neville. So, Monday Night Football, if you're in the UK, if you're watching from the UK, Monday Night Football will be live on Sky Sports. And normally what happens is, I'll explain to you a little bit how the media works. So, if you don't know already, Ten Hag yesterday, I'm assuming you've all seen it, and we did our press conference reaction live from the studio yesterday. What tends to happen is the manager will always, because he's obligated, he will speak to the press in a press conference that will take place at Carrington. So he did that yesterday. It's my understanding that the players have the day off today and they'll be back in training tomorrow. So Ten Hag spoke to that yesterday. That was part one of his press conference. Part two of his press conference will be is embargoed, and that will be official, and the quotes will be available for you guys to see at 10:30 p.m. Sunday night. And then on Monday, Sky Sports have the game. They are covering Crystal Palace, Manchester United. That is our game on Monday. We are away at Selhurst Park, and part of the media obligation is that Manchester United had to give the manager to Sky Sports. So they sent Gary Neville, and if you haven't seen it already, I'm going to delve into this now, and I'm really interested to see if Ten Hag has managed to sway your public opinion on this. And Gary Neville did a 30-minute sit-down interview with Ten Hag. It's very unusual. It's very unusual that the manager and Manchester United communications team and the team at Manchester United would give Ten Hag to the press for 30 minutes in a one-on-one situation. And some of the questions there were quite heavy, and I'm excited to show you. So, let's get straight into it. I'm going to be reading the chat, so get your opinions in. Mario Williams says, Sam the super sub, and Sam has won it. Yes, maybe I have. Maybe I have. So, let's get straight into it. The tweet you'll be able to see below me, it will come up on the screen. So let's get straight into it. Erik Ten Hag, he spoke about staying positive in Carrington and the mood in Carrington due to Manchester United being in the FA Cup final against our rivals Manchester City on May the 25th. The quote is, Manchester United, they didn't play so often twice in 2 years in an FA Cup final, and especially not in the last 10 years. For this group of players, it's a great opportunity that we need to take. So Gary Neville was kind of pressing Erik Ten Hag on this. He asked the question, Neville, he literally put it to Ten Hag, and he said, does your season rely on the FA Cup final? Basically, has the season flopped, in other words, if you don't win the FA Cup? And Ten Hag, he said about it, he said, for this group of players, it's a great opportunity that we need to take. Obviously, we all know that watching the FA Cup final last year was, how would I describe it? I'll describe it as painful. I'll describe it as wanting to cry within 30 seconds of the game, because we just gave it away. We didn't come out looking to fight. It was poor. It was awful. They scored early on. So it was awful, right? There's no other words. It was awful. So Ten Hag has said it's a great opportunity that we need to take this FA Cup final. I think, how do I think this game is going to go? I would see this game as... how would I see this game? I would see this game as an interesting opportunity. I don't think, personally, that it's going to be as easy for Manchester City as players think. Now, you could tell me, right, Sam, we nearly bottled Coventry. And trust, I got off the plane when I landed in America and I stuck the commentary on straight away. I was listening to 5 Live from the States. And they said, and Coventry have scored. And Coventry have scored again. And I was thinking, and I said to my dad and my family in the car, I was like surely we don't lose. We can't bottle the league can't bottle the cup to Coventry. But we didn't. And that's the main thing. And we are in the final. I think it's going to be a hard game. I think it's going to be a tight-lipped game. I hope the first goal, I think, is going to be key. If Manchester United can get the first goal and then calm the game down, then I think there could be a chance. I love myself to remain optimistic. You'll see from me on the channel that I'm always going to be positive. I'm never going to be overly negative unless, you know, we lose like 7-0 to Coventry or after that 7-0 to Liverpool. I think after that, you're right to be negative. But what's the point in being negative when you can be positive? That's how I see it. I see it as an opportunity for Manchester United to win a trophy. It's back-to-back Wembley finals for Ten Hag, and I think that is a great achievement for him. But now we have to get that over the line and we have to win. So tell me, one word in the chat, yes or no, will Manchester United win the FA Cup final? Tell me in the chat. We're going to get a poll. Let's do a poll. Will Manchester United win the FA Cup final? Tell me. Let me have a look while I have a drink. No, no, no. Maybe. So we are getting this poll for you in the chat. I'm going to... Judah said it's impossible. I don't see it as impossible. I see it, there's a real opportunity. Yes, see? I'm with you on yes. I think we can win the FA Cup final. Will we win the FA Cup final? Gut says no, heart says yes. Paul says 100% because I'm on holiday for the final. Interesting stuff. Interesting stuff. Get your votes in and I will talk about the poll. But let's move on to the next quote. The next quote is Erik ten Hag. He blamed conceding 600 plus shots on an unstable defence. Ten Hag says, I see the stats and it's clear last season that we had the consistent back four. When we did the same, we had the most clean sheets in the Premier League. Ten Hag is basically saying that because our defence has had to flop and flip and change all the time, when I'm leaking early team news to you guys, the first thing I ask for is the front three and the defence, because we have to change it all the time because we can just never keep our players fit and healthy. And he was asked about the injuries, Erik ten Hag, and I will bring that quote in. Let me just check if I was going to touch on it. I wasn't, but I will bring that quote in because it's very interesting, because Neville asked Ten Hag directly. He said, what is the problem? Like, why do you keep getting so many injuries? And I'll touch on that after I touch on this. So Ten Hag, he said, basically, the reason that we just keep conceding shots and that potentially that we don't have many clean sheets is because we did the same. He's saying that last season we had the same back four. So if you remember, that back four is Luke Shaw, Lisandro Martinez, Rafael Varane, and Dalot / Wan-Bissaka, have your pick. That was the back four. It stayed the same for the majority of the season. Obviously, there was some injuries in there, but it did stay the same. And Manchester United, we were good. I was hearing some people saying that we have potentially the best defence in the league last season. I was seeing comparisons from Saliba and Gabriel. I was seeing Martinez and Varane linked to Saliba and Gabriel. There were shouts for Luke Shaw to be the best left-back in the league and potentially the world. See, Luke Shaw's an interesting one because people are very mixed on Luke Shaw. For me, Luke Shaw, I love Luke Shaw. I absolutely adore Luke Shaw. I think that when Luke Shaw's playing, I think him and Rashford especially, they complement each other really, really well. I think that Luke Shaw is the future of Manchester United. Luke Shaw has to stay. Luke Shaw has to be playing when fit. Tell me in the chat. Tell me in the chat. Get your super chats in. Tell me, what do you think about Luke Shaw? I'm seeing some people now. Let me have a look at the chat. Get your super chats in. Ask me also if you have any questions, maybe that I can insight you on. If you know, I know anything about maybe some questions that you have about a transfer or something. If you get your super chat in, then if I have the information, then I will tell you that as well. Let's see what people are saying on Luke Shaw. Why play Lindelof left back and send Alvaro Fernandez to Benfica? See, there are many, many, many questions that you can raise about that. For me, I said it on a build-up show. I don't understand why we sent Reguilon back. For me, it was a mind-blowing decision. Why send Reguilon back? It didn't make sense. It still doesn't make sense to me now, and I never understood it. Why send Reguilon back when you knew Malacia was far away and you knew Luke Shaw was far away? So they thought, yep, fine, I'll send Reguilon away. Why? Please, it doesn't make any sense. If anyone's got an explanation, I'd love for you to tell me in the chat because I just didn't understand that. Savage says Shaw is fire. We need Shaw. Correct, Reguilon was essential. Christian says Luke Shaw is injury prone. He needs to be replaced this summer. Shaw is great, but way too injury prone, so move on. Medical department sold Erik ten Hag down the river by telling him that Shaw and Malacia were nearly back. I agree. I do agree with you on that one. I do agree that they did that. I can't remember the last time Luke Shaw played. Yes, but he's injured. But I'm saying when Luke Shaw is fit, do you not think that he is just the perfect left back? Do you not think? Luke Shaw has to stay. Well, we need to get a new left back as well. We can use him as a sub for Martinez. Yes, I'm not opposed to getting a new left back. I'm not saying that Luke Shaw should start every game because we know that Luke Shaw is physically unable to start every game. It's impossible for Luke Shaw to start every game. He will get injured. It's inevitable. So for me, I would let Malacia go and I would bring in another left back, although the word on the street is that we're looking at Frimpong, which I can confirm we are indeed looking at Frimpong. But let's see. Let's see what happens. Luke is a great player. Keep Shaw, Berto. It was the board, not Erik ten Hag, who sent Reguilon back. Yes, true, but then again, that raises questions as to why. Like, that doesn't answer my question as, you know, why did we send Reguilon back? It doesn't make sense, and I hope one day that John Murtough, because he's left, he'll be on gardening leave. He won't be able to speak publicly about his time at Manchester United. But when he does, I hope one day someone asks him, what happened? What went wrong? Why did you send Reguilon back? These questions need to be asked. How likely would you say that Frimpong is? 60%. I'm not sure I'd say it was 60%. I'm not sure I'd say that. I'd say maybe it's 50-50, to be honest with you. Erik ten Hag stated the medical department told him that Shaw and Malacia were going to be back. Yes, true. Yes, true. Rashford and Shaw need to go ASAP. Interesting. Interesting thoughts, but let's move on to the next quote. And actually, I'm going to bring in Mark's tweet here. Mark spoke to him this morning. He told me that this is his view. He said, and I think we have the tweet. Yep, there it is with Mark's face on it. Mark said, that Ten Hag Neville interview is funny. Ten Hag nails all the issues at United and Neville has nothing. This just shows that all the posturing and anti-manager stuff is for show. When faced with the answers, they are silent. Now, I agree with Mark on this. I think that Ten Hag it was a fantastic interview. He answered every question very, very well. I could sense there was maybe a little bit of frustration about the questions he was getting asked, but his answers, I think they were perfect. I think he got to the point. I think what Neville asked him was decent as well, to be fair to him. But I think Ten Hag, and the main thing that Mark, I think, wants to emphasise, and he'll touch on it more this afternoon when he's back, is that he shut Neville up. Ten Hag literally shut Neville up. And he took a sly dig. He took a sly dig at Neville, and this shouldn't be forgotten. Ten Hag said, on injuries, anyone with even a little bit of knowledge of football will know that they have a huge impact. He said that. Neville was here. I'm Ten Hag. He said that to Neville. He said, anyone with a little bit of knowledge will know that they have a huge impact about injuries. And he did his little, Ten Hag, he did his little laugh at the end of that. But talking about the injuries, I'm just going to bring this in, producer. I'm just trying to, bear with me. So, Neville put this to Ten Hag. He said, why have there been so many injuries at centre-back and at left-back? And Ten Hag said, look, we do our research, but a lot has to do with bad luck. When you are in the season and the results are not going in a particular way, you will always see that you pick up more injuries than in a season where everything goes right. We have seen this, so he acknowledges that, there are too many injuries and that everyone keeps getting injured. We have seen this, but we are still there in the season with 4 games to go and we have a cup final to play. We see players that are returning, so that gives us a good mood. So, Ten Hag there, he is saying that the injuries are bad luck. He couldn't provide an answer when asked about why there are so many injuries. He said he's done their research, but he wouldn't go into what the research results were, what the analysis results were, and he said it was bad luck. And then he started to talk about just how many injuries Manchester United currently have. So this is mental. It's almost not believable. This is what Ten Hag said. We've now played 47 games and we have had 30 combinations in the back 4. I mean, it's mental. That is the state of Manchester United's injury crisis. We've had to change the back 4 30 times out of 47 games. It's not normal. It's really not normal. They weren't from choices that I had to make. They were forced choices because our players were injured. And then he took that dig at Neville and he said, anyone with even a little bit of knowledge about football, they will know that it has a huge impact. Then he went on to Casemiro. I'm really interested to see what you guys think in the chat about Casemiro, because I've never spoken to you guys before about Casemiro, because I've either just spoken to you briefly about the team or about the game on the build-up show. So we've never really had this opportunity to discuss things in detail. Tell me in the chat, what do you think about Casemiro? Would you keep Casemiro next season? Tell me some sentences and I'll speak to you and we'll have a back and forth on it. What is happening about Casemiro? What do you think? Ten Hag said, Casemiro was injured for a long period of time. We had so many issues in that team that you can't always play the way you want to play. So Ten Hag, he wasn't asked specifically about Casemiro, but he touched on Casemiro, emphasising Casemiro's, how essential Casemiro is to Ten Hag. And I'll talk a little bit about Casemiro because he spoke about Frenkie de Jong and Harry Kane. And don't worry, Ten Hag does have Kane regret. That was in the title, and that is what we will also be talking about. So tell me about Casemiro. I want to hear from you in the chat. Let's have a little look. Casemiro is too old, sorry. Sell. Casemiro playing as if he's on the beach. Casemiro can go if the right player can replace him. Too old and slow. Also the wrong attitude. He needs moving on. Wrong attitude, Casemiro. Interesting. Tell me why. Tell me why do you think Casemiro has the wrong attitude? Because in and around Carrington, Casemiro is known as the jokester in the team. You know, we've all seen that video of him walking into Carrington and going, "Good morning, good morning." We've all seen that. We've all seen that video. He brings good vibes, but obviously football isn't built off vibes. De Jong with a super chat says, Tuchel's record to improve young talents are 0. How on earth are we linked with him when our youth is actually strong? He isn't an upgrade. Now, I wasn't saying that he was an upgrade to Ten Hag. I was just saying what I think will happen, what I think makes sense in the world of football. That was what I was saying. I don't necessarily agree with the fact that he is an upgrade on Ten Hag. Let's take a little look and then we'll touch on the poll. It's not an attitude problem at all. Agreed. Casemiro should be kicked out, says Savage. He hasn't been the same since he's been targeted by the referees. He's yellow card shy. If you're going to get young players in the squad, it would be good to keep Casemiro for one more season as a senior player. Walker Miro, his legs have gone. Interesting. So we're all of the same opinion. We're all of the same opinion. Let's touch now. We're about to be on Kane and De Jong, so stay with me because I'm excited to talk about this. But if you're, and obviously I'm quite young, so I didn't live through, you know, what could be seen as the glory days of Manchester United. So this is what I thought would appeal, this quote, to the older fan base. Ten Hag was talking and he said what the older fans wanted to hear, you know, about the demands, etc. of Manchester United. He said, we know what it demands and we know what the standards are. We want to get back-to-back wins, so we have to make these next steps. We have to get into a winning position and then bring it over the line. So, Ten Hag is saying there, we need to get into a winning position and we need to bring it over the line. What Manchester United struggle with, what I think Manchester United struggle with is, what's the word? Manchester United struggle with, you know, I can't think of the... Yes, consistency. That is the word. Thank you, Greg. Manchester United struggle with consistency. We always have a decent start to the game, 20 minutes. You know, we were called 20 minutes FC numerous times last season, numerous times this season. We tend to have good first 20 minutes and then we drop and we concede and we drop and then we concede again and we drop. And sometimes we just end up losing the game because we can't keep that consistency in the team. Apologies for forgetting what the word was. It just didn't come to my head. There is a lot going on this morning. So let's talk about Harry Kane. This is the big one. Ten Hag, he confirms that he wanted Frenkie de Jong. He confirms that he wanted Harry Kane. Let's talk about this. Ten Hag on Kane. I saw a striker in Kane who already proved it, who we wanted to sign, but we couldn't get him. Ten Hag basically confirming in this exclusive sit-down that Gary Neville had for Monday Night Football, he has confirmed that Manchester United wanted Harry Kane. He wanted Harry Kane, but we couldn't get him. He didn't go into as to why we couldn't get him. He didn't say, is this maybe because of the price? Because there was floating rumours of 120 million for Kane when it was Manchester United. So it's interesting. Why couldn't we get Harry Kane? Because the word on the street was that Harry Kane would have accepted a move to Manchester United. So it's interesting. It really is interesting. Would you have taken Kane? I think 1000% yes. I don't think that anyone in the chat, they will tell me, no, I wouldn't have taken Kane, because that's just mental to me. That's just mental to me. Toho says, is this the kid who has all the sources? Yes. Yes, it is. Spoiled Ballot Papers says, we could have got Kane instead of Mount and Onana. But Ten Hag wanted a new goalkeeper. So that's why. So anyway, so obviously we all wanted Kane, right? We all wanted Kane. But then he spoke about Rasmus and he said, we couldn't get Kane. So we then went to Rasmus because Rasmus is a talent. Rasmus, he's a talent, were the exact words from Ten Hag. Look, Rasmus, everyone was of the same opinion in the summer and is still of the same opinion that it should have been Rasmus and Kane. Rasmus should have been the second choice striker. Rasmus should have been learning off a world-class striker like an Osimhen, like a Harry Kane, but we couldn't get Harry Kane. Ten Hag confirmed he went for Harry Kane, but he didn't get him. So then we went to Rasmus, and instead of having Rasmus and someone to learn off, we just had Rasmus. For me, Rasmus, great. He had a tricky start to the season, but that's as you would expect. You know, coming into a new league, obviously he had to learn Manchester United's style of play. He had to learn the intensity of the Premier League. Obviously, you know, muscly Rasmus, great guy as well. When we went to interview him at Carrington, and you saw that on the United stand, Mark's one-on-one with Højlund, it was an incredible experience. Rasmus was a nice guy. He walked in, he shook everybody in the room's hands. He signed a few shirts after the game, just like one for Mark's kid and stuff. So it was overall, it was a positive day. Rasmus is a lovely guy. And for me, I really hope it works out here for Rasmus. I think that obviously he was performing well, but then he got injured and he hasn't really been, you know, managed to get into that same rhythm, that same, you know, fluency that he had before the injury. And it's the same actually with James Maddison at Tottenham. Obviously Maddison, I was hearing shouts that he could be better than Bruno. Think of that what you will. I prefer not to speak on Bruno or Maddison. But yeah, Maddison was playing well for Spurs, and then he came in, had an injury, but then hasn't been the same since. Was dropped for the game against Chelsea yesterday. What a game, by the way. Chelsea-Spurs yesterday at Stamford Bridge. What a game. Spurs, they couldn't do it. They couldn't do it. But let's move on to Frenkie de Jong. Ten Hag on whether Frenkie de Jong would have allowed him to play more like he played at Ajax. You can see the quote now on screen. Frenkie and Casemiro, they would have been very complementary. To play the Ajax style, you need these type of players. So that is what he is saying. He is saying that it would have been, if he had his way, if Ten Hag had his way, he'd have signed de Jong and he would have played him alongside Casemiro. I think that's what we were all hoping for. Tell me in the chat, would you, just do a yes or a no, we don't need a poll on it, I think, a yes or a no, would you have taken de Jong, Casemiro, and then it would have been Bruno? Would you have taken that front three? That means we wouldn't have signed Mount. So for me, it's an interesting one, because if we'd have signed de Jong, would Kobbie Mainoo be Kobbie Mainoo? If that makes sense. Would Kobbie Mainoo be what he is now if he hadn't had that opportunity, if he hadn't had the time from Ten Hag to, you know, have that chance to play, to settle in to Manchester United? If we sign de Jong, does that hinder Mainoo's development? Tell me in the chat. Let's have a look. Oliver Sharp, member for 14 months, says, get in, Sam. What a legend. Love you, brother. Weggy forever. Weghorst. Yes. 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 This is a lot of ifs, buts, and maybes. True. That's true. We wouldn't have seen Mainoo if de Jong and Casemiro was his choice. Some people are saying no, they wouldn't have liked to see Casemiro, Kobbie. They wouldn't have liked to see Casemiro, de Jong and Bruno. Interesting. Interesting. Mainoo still needs to develop a lot more. Casemiro would have been suspended at some point and Mainoo would have stepped in. Yeah, that is true. That is true. But it probably would have been better for Kobbie because he could have gone out on loan or be an understudy. Interesting. Unrealistic to sign both, says PJ. Swap Bruno. Where was that? Swap Bruno is what they're saying. No, de Jong is good, but is not that good. Sell Eriksen and Antony and Sancho, Rashford and Greenwood, says David. Let's move on. Ten Hag, I see this. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. I saw this as maybe fighting for a little bit of sympathy from Ten Hag. He said this. This year, we wanted to make the next step. We brought in a goalkeeper who can play out from the back. We brought in a dynamic midfielder in Mason Mount, who has been injured all season, and a goal scorer in Rasmus Højlund, who is young and needed time. Does this sound like Ten Hag asking for sympathy? That's what I read it as. Ten Hag was crying out for help. That's what was in the thumbnail. I see it as he was asking for sympathy, but he might have just been expressing his honest opinion. he said that he bought in Onana, right? We all know that previous link between Onana and Ten Hag, it was obvious to everyone. But he bought in Onana, right? It was then his choice. It was Mason Mount. It was Ten Hag's choice to bring in Mason Mount, according to what the media were reporting, right? And then he gave Ten Hag, and then he gave Mount the 7 shirt. Now, my understanding is Mount was offered the number 7 shirt. I don't know if it was Ten Hag that offered it to him, or I don't know if it was the people above that were handling the negotiations, i.e. Murto, Arnold. I don't know if they offered it to Mount as like a unique selling point. Come to Manchester United, be our new number 7. I'm not sure. All I know is he was categorically, can confirm, he was offered that number 7 shirt. Interesting. Do you think? I think. So that's what he had to say about that. And then finally, what I'm going to touch on is he was asked, Neville said to him, have you considered going more defensive? Ten Hag said, we did think about this. So Ten Hag confirms that he thought about going more defensive. But he says that one of his objectives when he signed his Manchester United managerial contract was to bring in a proactive, so a controlling style and a way of play. So, with all those quotes being done, with this interview being done, tell me. Let's have a look at the poll. So, let's end this poll. Will Manchester United win the FA Cup final? 52% of you say yes. 42% of you say no. Is that my positivity rubbing off on you? Maybe. But let's get a new poll in, please, before I move on to talking about the other breaking news. Tell me, has your opinion on Ten Hag been swayed? Should Ten Hag stay? So the poll, I want it to be Ten Hag in, Ten Hag out. Let's see what's going on. Michael says, great show, Sam. Well done. Thank you. I'm trying. As I said, Beth failed that late fitness test, so I was brought in off the bench. But I think it's going well. I think it's going well. Ten Hag in, Ten Hag out. Let's have a look. Straight away in. Arthur, in Ten Hag, we trust. In Ten Hag, we trust. Number 7 shirt is too heavy. Who do you get your sources from? I'm not going to tell you. I'm not going to tell you because that is not how we work. No matter how you slice it, we're still 6th. I'm still fully Erik Ten Hag in. Stay. It's not a debate. Keep him another season. Erik Ten Hag in all the way. Ten Hag in. 80% of you are Ten Hag in. Henry says, sack this embarrassing Dutch manager. No, I don't see it. Honestly, I don't see it. Let me just check Twitter to see if there has been any breaking news since we were live. Nothing has been happening. So let's you're going far, kid. Thanks. Thank you very much. No one could have had what he has done with the injuries that we had. I would rather see Zidane or De Zerbi. I would have loved to have Nagelsmann, but he resigned. Ten Hag needs another season under Sir Jim and Ineos and gets transfers done who he needs. Keep him for another season and back him properly. Time to give up hope. So, Ten Hag in, Ten Hag out. 82% of you say Ten Hag in. Let's keep this going and let's touch on the breaking news that came from the Spanish press. El Nacional is an outlet, that's my understanding, is an outlet over in sunny Spain. They said, FC Barcelona have open talks to possibly sign Manchester United captain Bruno Fernandez. El Nacional cited anonymous sources, so they wouldn't say where the information came from, but apparently Barcelona want Bruno. Tell me, let's end this Ten Hag in, Ten Hag out poll because 82% of you are Ten Hag in. I'm just going to take a little photo of that. Tell me, are you Ten Hag in or are you sorry, I got lost in the poll. Sorry about that. Let's end that poll and let's say, would you sell Bruno to Barcelona? That's the poll. Let Bruno go. Yes or no, please. Producer. Let me read your super chats. Lovely bit of Squirrel, Friday night dinner reference. What a TV show. One of my favourites, if I'm being completely honest with you. Do you think Erik ten Hag has been backed to stay on as manager as the club has allowed this interview to happen? I don't know if you missed the beginning of the show, but it is an obligation. It is an obligation that the manager tends to do. He tends to speak to, like, if this game was the Monday night and it was on TNT, he'd have done the same type of thing with TNT. But do I think he has been back to stay on as manager? I'm not sure. That's my answer. I genuinely, I don't know. But would you let Bruno go? This is what is completely interesting. Tell me, would you let Bruno go? Jem says, hello, Jackie. Oh, you're gonna set me off. My favourite. Right, if Bruno goes, much like if Rashford goes, I think it breaks the mentality block that seems to be stopping players from being sold. This would depend on the price, not at a knockdown one, 100 million. Bruno is worth 100 million. We can let him go for 100 million. 100 million for Bruno? I wouldn't sell. I wouldn't sell for less than that, actually. Yeah, I'd go 90, 100 million for Bruno, yeah. I think that. Bruno needs to move on, but this is not his season. Bruno needs to move on, but not this season. Other positions need to be refreshed first. Sam, if we could buy better players for the squad, I'd swap Bruno for De Jong. Him for Frankie De Jong, better at controlling the game. What's my name? I'm Sam. Mount would get the chance to play Cam if Bruno left. Bruno has the attitude of Roy Keane. When we signed Mason Mount, I said that it made most sense as a long-term replacement for Bruno. Bruno is our most sellable asset other than the youngsters that we want to keep. Sean from Ireland says 75 million for Bruno. I think more than 75 million for Bruno. I think more. I think more than 75 million for Bruno, to be completely honest with you. Would you guys have Amaron as manager? So let me look at the chat. Would you let Bruno go? No, 61%. Yes, 39%. Interesting. That is interesting. So I'd swap him for Wirtz. Bruno is Superman. Bruno, says Carl, is a 16 million max inconsistent player. Interesting. Interesting stuff. So let's just talk about, I'll just run you through quickly my predicted 11 for that Palace game. And then I'm going to end the show talking about Thomas Tuchel. So my predicted 11 for Monday's game, and tell me yours in the chat, or if you're watching after, tell me it in the comment section below. This is what I think Erik ten Hag will go with. This is my predicted 11. I think that it will probably be this. Andre Onana will start in net, literally no questions about it. We've got an unfit back four, so there'll be no changes there. Dalot, Maguire, Casemiro, Wan-Bissaka. I think in midfield he'll stick with Eriksen because McTominay hasn't trained. Ten Hag said yesterday that McTominay hadn't trained at all, and the players are off today. So the first time that McTominay has an opportunity to train is on Saturday, and then the game is Monday. So I think we'll come too late to start this game for McTominay. I think he'll be on the bench and he'll come on. So I think Ten Hag will go with Eriksen, Mainu and Bruno. I think the front three will be Anthony, Garnacho and Højlund, because Ten Hag was asked about Rashford's injury and he said he doesn't know. He doesn't know if Rashford will make it or not. If we sack Erik ten Hag, super chat in from Stephen. Thank you all for your super chats so far. If we sack Erik ten Hag, bring Marco Rose in from Leipzig. Interesting. Interesting. But yeah, that is what I think the team will be. If you have any questions or why you disagree with what I think the team will be, then let me know. Yep, Eriksen. I think it will be Eriksen because, as I said, McTominay isn't fit to start. And I think, look, Ten Hag, he said that Bruno was a doubt. But then also in the same press conference, he said, we all know Bruno. Bruno wants to play. So Bruno will play. Bruno will start. Yes, Sam, I think that will be the starting lineup. Yeah, so let's talk about Thomas Tuchel. Ben Jacobs, a friend of the United Stand, a lovely guy, someone that I speak to often on Twitter. He told United Twitter account on Twitter, MUFC MPB, he told them, according to sources on Thomas Tuchel's side, Thomas would take the Manchester United job and Tuchel would welcome back a Premier League approach. He wants to come back to the Premier League. So I'm not going to say too much about what's going on about that. I mean, it's very self-explanatory. He wants to come, he'd accept the job, and he wants to return to the Premier League. Done. What I will tell you is a little bit of stuff that I was doing when I was digging. Sources have told me that Thomas Tuchel likes to be the main man in the building. He likes to have the control. Outside of training, the players can do what they want. So, but obviously, you know, they have to maintain what they're told to do, but they can, you know, choose their own girlfriends, go out for dinner, they can do what they want in their personal lives. But apparently, and I learnt this the other day, not all managers are like that. Some managers want to pick their players' girlfriends. Some managers want to say that you can't go out for dinner. But apparently Tuchel was very relaxed on that side, but he does like to have control. If he becomes Manchester United manager, when you are in Carrington, you are listening to Tuchel. You are doing what Tuchel says. That is what I was being fed if Tuchel was to join Manchester United. Mental to say, isn't it? Mental to say that some managers want to have that much control of their players. It's crazy. But it is time to end my first solo show on the United Stand. I hope that you guys enjoyed it. We covered a lot. Barca want Bruno apparently. Ten Hag has Kane regret. Could Thomas Tuchel become the next Manchester United manager? Mental stuff. It was a busy morning show. Yeah, as I said, I came in off the bench at about, what time did we discuss this? About 7:15 this morning. I got the call from the gaffer, from Mark. He said, Sam, he said, you're going to have to do the morning show. Beth has failed her late fitness test. And I said, gaffer, I'll do it. It's okay. I'm here for the team. I'm part of the team. I hope you guys enjoyed, and hopefully I will see you guys again soon. Mark is back for the afternoon show. I am assuming it's 2 o'clock because yeah, it will be 2 o'clock because the press conference was yesterday. So Mark will be back for your 2 p.m. show. Let him sign the contract. Sam at the wheel, man. He's doing his thing. Final super chat says Sean from Ireland. He says he has not won the league and PSG and Munich. Yeah, think what you think. But thank you guys. I've been Sam. Thank you for joining me on the morning show. I hope it was okay for you guys. Let me know in the comments. Let me know on Twitter DMs, on Instagram DMs. Tell me what you think. And for now, I will see you hopefully on the next one. Goodbye, guys.